Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February Recreational Astronomy Night for the Toronto Centre of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. My name is Tom Luton. I'm your host for the evening. I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Those of you who have just taken part in the observatory tour here at York University, I hope you had a very pleasant evening. Hello to everyone joining us live online. And we've got a good set of presentations this evening. Claudio Oriani will be talking about the sky this month. Arushi Nath will be discussing constraining exoplanet mass, orbital period, and eccentricity from transit timing variations using N-body simulations. And then Dr. Elena Hyde will be finishing up with applying for telescope time on the Alan I. Carswell Observatory telescope, 1 meter telescope, amateurs and researchers alike. And then we will wrap things up with our president, Scott Masterton, with the announcements. Can I just get a quick show of hands? Is there anyone here in the audience who's here for the first time? Welcome. All right. And with that, we'll get started with Claudio and the sky this month.
Okay. Thank you, Tom and everybody for me tonight. It's Claudio Oriani from Recreational Astronomy. Today I'm here. And I will talk about the sky this month between today, February 5th, and March 5th, 2025. During this presentation, all the times are expressed in Eastern Standard Time and is 5 hours behind UTC. There is a lot going on this month. So without further ado, let's start. So a glimpse, you can see we're playing with Stellarium and other sources, and I found a few events. So tomorrow we have the first one. The moon will be just half degree north of the Pleiades. It's a good opportunity to capture them together. And there is an asteroid, 29 Amphitrite, at the opposition, a full snow moon. It's not particularly bright, but since she was the wife of Neptune, and we have Valentine's Day, I wanted to tell about this one. And is very close to the full moon. And also we have the zodiacal night visible after twilight for 2 weeks when the moon is out of the way, around mid-February. Venus will reach the peak brightness at magnitude minus 4.9. You can get it wrong. And also we have some more very close encounter between the moon and some planets and stars. And, the so-called planetary parade will go more in detail because there are always planetary parades. But this one is very interesting because you can see all the planets in a few hours without being up late. And also Antares will be half degree north of the moon on February 21. Mercury will be very close to Saturn at the end of the month. Difficult to see, but we can try. And also at the end of February, you can have the opportunity, the first opportunity of this year for the Messier Marathon. And also start having double shadows of the moon of Jupiter's. Let's go with what we have about the sky. So today, we had exactly 10 hours and 5 minutes of daylight, while on March 5th, you have 11 hours and 25 minutes of daylight. That means that we are getting less imaging time. Now we are good because we have 10 hours and 38 minutes of imaging time. Unfortunately, the weather is terrible. I don't know when you had the last chance to see something in the sky. It was like probably November for me. Hope it's going to be better when you leave. And beginning of March, we are going to have 9 hours and 56 minutes of imaging time. So we lose 40 minutes of imaging time between now and March. So the sky, this is the best time of the year to observe the winter constellation, Orion, Canis Major, Taurus, Gemini, Auriga, and Monoceros. Later at night, you can start to see the spring constellation, sorry for the typo, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, appear in the eastern sky. And then Andromeda, Cassiopeia, Pegasus, and Cepheus are still reasonably high at the beginning of the night. So tonight, if you look southeast to southwest, you can see some constellation that you will recognize easily, like Orion, Canis Major, and all the brightest star of the winter hexagon. If you move to northeast to southeast, you will see Leo, Lion, and Virgo. Ursa Major is getting higher in the sky. Looking northwest, you can still see Cassiopeia Andromeda to the left of this image, and Cepheus is still reasonably high. While if you go southwest, there's a beautiful moon not far from the Pleiades. Tomorrow will be even closer. And of course, you see also other constellations, Andromeda, Seal, Triangulum, and Aries. And if you look overhead, you will see the brightest star in the winter sky. So you see Jupiter, you see it's not a star, of course. You see Taurus, you see Mars between the Gemini, the stars of Gemini, and so on. What not about the zodiacal light? 1 hour after sunset, basically from February 14, Valentine's Day, you can see when the time of the equinox is the best time where you can see the zodiacal light, because it's steepest in the sky. This is happening after sunset, 1 hour after sunset. Better if you go far from the light pollution of your city. And you can see this little pillar of light. Let me know if you are able to see. I was reading recently that it seems like the zodiacal light is like some dust that Mars is looking through this orbit, and there is a source I share at the bottom of this slide. You can have a look there. So there is a diffuse globe of light made of interplanetary dust. The sun, let's start with the planet and the sun for the solar system. So of course, we know what happened last year. We had 2 major northern lights. I was able to see both of them from the light polluted sky. And now the sun is still very active. I was reading there were like 102 solar spots this morning. And there is also a coronal hole, so maybe there was some chance to see some of the aurora in the next few days. You can have a look at this spaceweather.com, is my favorite one. Or if you want to install an app for smartphone, there is my Aurora Forecast that is available both for Android and iOS. So the sun reached the maximum, approximately it was August 2024 of the cycle that is lasting 11 years. I took this image of the sun with a small dedicated hydrogen alpha telescope and monochrome camera last November, and I just tried to, show what you can see with a very small telescope, like 40 millimeters. There is a prominence at the northern limb of the sun that is bigger than our planet, the top. And what about the moon? Will reach apogee on February 18 at 1 universal time, while perigee will be reached on March 1st, with the closest. Next, let's see the phases of the moon so that you can plan your observing. Some have lost the moon, some want to have some deep sky observing, so someone hates the moon. I love the moon. First quarter is today, basically, at midnight. And full moon will be reached on February 12, while last quarter will be on February 20, when the moon is rising around midnight. So you have 3 hours without the moon. And new moon will be at the end of February, when you can try to do your Messier Marathon. Let's talk about libration. The moon is always facing the same part to us, but since there is a mutual attraction, so what happens, we can see more of half of the moon. We can see basically 59% of the moon, and this is wobbling. So we can see most of the southern hemisphere of the moon, and this is going to happen on February 8. More of the eastern limb on February 10th, more of the northern on the February 3rd, we can see 6.8 degrees more than usual. And the western part of the moon will be more visible on February 24. So you can see things that usually are not visible during a normal night. The moon will meet several planets this month, as I mentioned before. Let's start, and also the stars. So let's start with the Pleiades tomorrow. So what you can see here, the red rectangle is a simulation where you can see with a 135 millimeter lens and DSLR camera. So the moon will meet the Pleiades tomorrow. It will be at 1:40 a.m., but the moon will be only 9 degrees above the horizon. You can try. When tomorrow, later, February 7, Jupiter will be 5 degrees south of the moon. And then still on February 7, the next day, the moon will meet four open cluster, M35, 36, 37, 38. I try to capture some of this event when the moon is very bright. I found very difficult to find a good balance between the exposure, because either the moon is burning the photogram or you can see just the moon and don't see the stars. Let me know if you can try, if you can reach. But it's very interesting because you can see 4 of them. And then on February 9, the moon will meet Mars and the major stars of Gemini, Pollux and Castor, around 7:30 p.m. Then let's go on February 12th, Moon and Regulus in Leon. This is going to happen too late. It's going to be 8 o'clock. And then Moon will meet Spica on February 17 before sunrise. It's 6:34 a.m. in this image. They're very close together. And then on the 21st, Moon will meet Antares in Scorpio before sunrise. They will be less than half degree apart. In some part of the world, there will be an occultation, not here. And that's very interesting because the moon, very, very slim sliver of the moon, 1.2 illuminated on the 28th, will meet Mercury. But first, the moon will be very, very dim. And second, is only 1 degree above the horizon. Good luck with that. And then on March 1st, the moon will meet Venus. Still very close, but 4 degrees above the horizon. Now let's talk about planets. As I said before, there is a planet parade. So they will be all visible the first part of the night. You see visibility, the last column, evening, for the entire month of February. Mercury is a little bit of an exception because it will be visible the second half of the month. But let's go more in detail. As I say, from February 18, we have this planetary parade. Actually, we always have planetary parade, but they're close. You can spot 7 planets in one night. So first, wait until the sun is down below the horizon. You can see very hardly Mercury because it's very low in the sky, around 6:30. And then Saturn and Venus are just up. Maybe you can wait for Saturn and Venus until the sky is a little bit darker. And then next, 7:15, you can see Neptune just above the 2 planets. And then last, you can see Jupiter and Mars. You can't make any mistake because of the brightest in the western and overhead. And also Uranus, not far from Jupiter. So in one night, you can spot and maybe image all the major planets. This will be also true for the next few days. Mercury will be even better after February 18. Because, as I said, February 9, Mercury will be invisible because it's superior conjunction, so it's behind the sun. Reappears in the evening twilight at the end of February. And as I said before, there is a close conjunction with the thin crescent moon on February 28. By the way, this image I took on June 2020 with my Celestron 8 Smith-Castle planetary camera. It was very low to the horizon, but it's nice to see Mercury. There is some urban legend say that Copernicus never had the chance to see Mercury. That's not true, but fun fact maybe. Now I have to switch to the next slide because there is an animation and I can't see the mouse. Sorry about that. Okay, Venus, as I said before, will be very bright. You can't make wrong. Minus 4.9 magnitude. In a very dark sky, you can go and you will see your shadow with Venus. The phase angle will decrease from 38 to 14%. And the angular size will increase up to 48 arcs second in diameter. It's very far from the sun, so 45 degrees today, but at the end of the month will be only 31. So we have 1 month approximately to still see Venus in the western sky after sunset. Mars. You know that the last few days ago there was the opposition. Of course, it was cloudy here. And there was also an occultation. It was cloudy in my place, of course. But it's still well placed on the evening sky in Gemini between Castor and Pollux. The magnitude is still very bright, so minus 1.1. You can see because it's red. It's not blinking. And there is a conjunction with the waxing gibbous moon on the February 9. The diameter will fade because we are getting far apart from Mars. And today is 13.3 arc seconds, while at the end of the month, March 5th, will be 10 arc seconds. But it's still a pretty good target for a small telescope. You can see some details. I took some images and I show them what you can see with the 8-inch telescope. There is a challenge. Since Mars is closest, can you see Phobos and Deimos in this image? Actually, to the left side is not a moon. The next slide you can see Phobos and Deimos. They're very dim. And yeah, that's just a trick. I captured this image with my telescope again and a software file capture, and I use a plugin. This is the explanation. So how to capture Mars with file capture. There is a plugin. If you go with file capture, the free software, and you can just use a pre-processing, the planetary mask. You can play with all these settings, and then you can get a circle that is just obscuring the disk of Mars that is very bright, or even other thing. You can try with Sirius, try to capture Sirius B, and then play with the gain and until you can see these moons. Good luck with that. Jupiter. Jupiter is very high in the evening sky in the Taurus, the bull. And on February 4, yesterday, was 5 degrees north of Aldebaran. Tomorrow, the moon and Jupiter will be very close. And then at the end of February, and along Mars, there will be a series of double shadows transit on the disk of Jupiter. The major Galilean moon will pass in front of Jupiter. I have some of them in the next slides. So as I say, March 4th, double shadow transit, and this is just before you can see both the shadows. It's interesting because you can see at 6:30, the moon Europa will be in front of the red spot, the great red spot. That's a cool one. And then a few minutes later, 7:30, you can see Europa is out of the way. And you can also see the shadow, the size of the shadow. Europa is the left one, small. And then Ganymede is the right one, the biggest one. Ganymede is the biggest moon in the solar system. It's a 5,262 kilometers diameter. More than Mercury. Thank you. Hello. Oh, I'm back. And if you can have a look at, I think the microphone is off. It's good? Okay. There was some strange sound, sorry about that. From time to time, again, I said that the little round shadows can be spotted. Every 2 or 3 nights, you can also see the great red spot. All these events are visible on this website, astrovanbuitenen.nl Jupiter. Or you can go, if you have the RASC Observer Handbook, between page 2026 and 2032. And all the events are there. Saturn. This image is not taken this year. It was in 2023, because now the rings are very, very thin. Will disappear, kind of, on March 23rd, when they become edge on Earth. Unfortunately, the ring crossing will occur when Saturn is in conjunction with the Sun. But then, when Saturn will be visible again, we will see the southern part of the rings for the next 13 and a half years. In this image, you can count 5 moons. Uranus is still visible in the evening sky, and again, you can try to play with the gain, as I showed before, and you can try to see if you can spot the moons of Uranus. And same for Neptune. This thing is like driving me nuts, because it was 4.5 billion kilometers. You can see a moon. Every day is a different position. Triton is a special moon because it's very bright. It's very, very high albedo. Again, challenge for the month of March. I don't want to go through all the details. There are slides, but there are also websites you can check, like a space tour, tourismguide.com, Messier Marathon, and you can have a look at what is the right sequence they suggest to have to spot all the 110 Messier objects in one night. I won't, because it's too cold and I want to sleep at night. But first of all, you need to have the right equipment. A go-to is easier because it's just going the right place, the right moment. Find the right location. You need to have a clear horizon all around the places and the right date. There are 2 chances this year. One at the end of February and the second one at the end of March. So mark your calendar. And then again, use find some source, do your homework before going out. And the fun thing is going with other people, so you can look together, different targets. There is an optimal order to succeed in a Messier Marathon, the Messier Marathon search sequence, and there is some source you can see here as well. Messier.sets.org, extra, etc., etc. Marathon/marath1.html. As I say, you can start with Cetus, Pisces, Triangle, Andromeda, and so on. So the constellations that are visible, kind of high in the sky, you can leave them later. You have to start with constellations that the objects are low to the horizon, to western horizon. They go overhead, and they go to the eastern horizon. That's pretty much the trick. If you see number 30 is like a summer constellation, the end of the day. And then you start with Capricornus, is a sunrise almost. So you can see 110 objects. If the sky is clear, if you can resist the cold, and if you have a good view of the horizon. Some Skype suggestion for February. February, of course, is the month of the love, like, Valentine's Day, Heart and Soul. I didn't put the Rosette Nebula because I was talking about this one last time I was presenting. It was just 2 months ago. It was a little bit weird to do again, but this is a good option. And of course, the constellation Orion. There are so many beautiful objects, and also the Crab Nebula. I was doing some narrowband here. You can also plan with this free online tool that is telescopius.com. You can just put your coordinates, and you can see what you can image the night. Let's start with the Heart and Soul Nebula. You can see they are just between Cassiopeia and Cepheus. They are in Cassiopeia, technically. And this is the location. That's an image I took, probably was last year, October 2024. It is just 2 hours of total integration. The flat frames, you can tell, didn't work well. But it's nice to see the art and a little worm there. The technical names are IC 1805-1848. There are two emission nebula and star-forming areas located in the constellation of Cassiopeia. Horsehead Nebula, nothing to say here. Probably most of you know where it is. It's just in Orion and is a dark, small nebula just south of the star Alnitak to the left. This was all was in 2024, just 1 hour integration time. And then the Crab Nebula, that's very interesting because it's just, a dying star. And there was a remnant of the supernova that exploded in 1054. The nebula was discovered only in 1731. I believe English astronomer, if I remember correctly, was John Bevis. And the very interesting thing that it was documented by Native Americans, Japanese, Arabic stargazer, and Chinese astronomer as a guest star. The magnitude is 8.4, and it's comparable to Titan. If you take two images 10 years apart, you can see that the nebula is expanding. That's also cool. Comets and asteroids. Not much to say about comets this month. Not very bright. They're all the comets you can see. Again, Astro Van Buitenen and .NL comets. They're all above magnitude 10, so nothing really to say. While there is an Amphitrite opposition on February 12th, and I will go there next slide. So if you see on the February 12th, you can see the constellation Leo and the moon, and with this red spot, this is where Amphitrite is. This asteroid is one of the largest S-type asteroids in the main belt. The diameter is 212 kilometers. The magnitude can reach 8. This year is not one of the best ones, but it's very interesting. Again, so Albert Mart, George Bishop. Okay, that's the asteroid. And the name is after, I told you before, is Amphitrite, the Greek nymph, sea nymph that was the wife of Neptune. The goddess of sea is a wife. So Valentine, I think it was something fun to say. Let's talk about the ISS visible passes. I took these images a few days ago, so it's possible that from time to time this is going to change. So you go closer to the date when a visible pass is supposed to happen and see real time if things are going to change. There are a few dates I put here, and the website is evansabove.com. You have to look at the ISS. February 17, 5:45 to 5:51 a.m. is the brightest I found for this time span. And it's going to be minus 3.9 brightness. So if you plan in advance, you can even put your scope where the ISS is supposed to pass, and you can try to see. Or you can just enjoy the show. The altitude, the max altitude will reach 86 degrees. When you see minus 3.9, minus 4, etc., you can be sure that the International Space Station will be very high overhead. And with that, I didn't find the space flight, that usually I also put in that because they were not available yet. There will be some interesting one at the end of the month. But with that, I'm done. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Claudio. Are there any questions?
Claudia, you're talking about Venus being so bright, 4.9, and we have to wait until it gets dark. But it's possible to see it in the daytime, isn't it? If
Absolutely.
if you have your scope set up,
Yeah.
like I had it on the sun at noon, I said, "You want to see the Venus?" And then it goes to
Yeah.
Venus, and there it is in the daytime behind the blue background.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
would that work?
Absolutely work as long as you have the telescope that is already set up, ready aligned to all the stuff you have to do, and polar aligned, and you just move. Yeah, the reason why usually I'm not telling to try to spot the planets during the daytime, there can be damages if you don't know how to use your telescope. But absolutely, if you know where to spot the stuff, you can. 45 degrees is safe enough. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions?
This isn't a question specifically for you. It can go to just about anybody who's able to answer it. Do we know if the Toronto Centre is going to be hosting a Messier Marathon at the CAO this year?
We do have an answer. Hold on a second.
Well, actually, somebody online asked the same question, how many are planning to attend the Messier Marathon. That's Stan of Two Rivers Observatory in Nova Scotia. To which Ralph Chu replied, Toronto has a Messier Marathon set for February 28th at the Carr Observatory. Okay, oh, you're welcome. And there's a comment by Eric Briggs. It said, there's an episode of The X-Files with a cameo by Alex Trebek and Jesse Ventura, warning viewers that Venus at its peak brightness is often mistaken for a UFO.
All right. Any more questions in the audience? No? All right. Claudio, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.